Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this evening's box office web talk show on careers, organized by Bennett University's Times School of Media. This is the first film-based web talk show being conducted by Bennett University and coincides with the launch of two prestigious film programs this year, a BA in film, television, and web series, and a postgraduate diploma in film, television, and web series. These two programs have been launched by the Times School of Media to meet the needs of the film and the fast emerging OTT industry. Both the programs are in keeping with the vision of the Times of India Group, which is India's largest media house and has set up the Bennett University. You'll be happy to know that both the programs have been curated by Jungli Pictures, the film production house of the Times Group, which has given us such memorable hits as Talwar, Razi, Bareli Ki Barfi, and Badhai Ho. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our four well-known guests this evening from the film industry. Ms. Neha Parti Matiyani, who is a cinematographer, Mr. Shubham Gaur, who is a casting director, and two young actors, Mr. Priyansh, Jora, and Mr. Akashdeep, Arora. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and agreeing to share your journey, your struggles, and your successes in the tinsel world with our young audience. I now request my colleague, Professor Gauri Chakrabarti, who has joined us to lead the film program, to formally introduce our honored guests and get the conversation rolling.
Thank you so much, Professor Saxena. Good evening, and again, a very warm welcome to Box Office Careers, a unique talk show which will discuss the art and the craft of cinema and is being hosted by the Times School of Media. The talk today explores content and style in films, television programming, and OTT shows from the people who actually engage with the medium. I can foretell that we have some very young and dynamic media and film aspirants across my screen who are curious about their careers in this rapidly growing media and entertainment sector, and who see their future as team members either in a creative or technical crew, or largely on a film set. And on this side, we have today four fantastic achievers who know the pulse of the industry, and it is my privilege to introduce them to you. So let me begin with Ms. Neha Parti Matiyani. In the hardcore world of technical skill, Neha's work shines out as a DOP after assisting on some big feature film projects for 5 years like Fana, Gajni, Rab Devanadi Jodi, Savarya, My Name is Khan. And then learning the intricacies of her craft, she has been shooting feature films, commercials, web series, and short films since 2010, and we know a lot of her work. Her work as DOP includes feature films Mujhse Friendship Karoge, Waiting, Badrinath Ki Dulhania, and the web series Four More Shots Please. And guess what? Neha's latest release is Rashmi Rocket. And we know how it's doing the rounds since October 15th. So do take time to watch the film. I watched it yesterday. It was an absolute pleasure. So congratulations, Neha. Welcome to the show, and we look forward to this conversation. We also have with us Mr. Shubham Gaur. Shubham is an extremely talented human being who I'm not surprised is part of the creative industry. He's actually a rock star. Shubham started at Yash Raj Films, the casting team. He then had the golden opportunity to work with Seher Latif, a name in the casting process for international projects. Shubham currently has his own venture, Trishan and Shubham, where the duo has cast for the best films and shows in recent entertainment history. And Shubham's body of work as a casting director includes national and international projects like The Lunchbox, Sense 8, by the Wachowski siblings, The Jungle Book, Homeland, Season 4, $1 Million Arm, Fast and Furious, 7, Special Ops, and it also includes Anurag Basu's Ludo. So really looking forward to Shubham's comments and advice to the young aspirants. Welcome, Shubham.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody, for having me here.
Great. And now we have actors in the house. So those whose agility to adapt can never be compromised. Welcome, Priyansh, Jora, an impressive debut with Anil Kapoor in the series 24, a lovable fame as lead in Tu Mera Hero on television, and a very consciously subdued performance in Khandani Shafakana as per the requirement of the character. He's a regular. We see him on television in advertisements. The camera loves Priyansh and he has a long way to go. And let me share that Priyansh is very choosy about his projects and he wants to build a specific kind of profile. He's been across the platforms. So we will also look forward to hearing a lot about the different kind of work that he's done across platforms. So welcome, Priyansh.
Thank you so much, Professor Chakravarti. Thank you. It's a pleasure. And yeah,
Thanks again.
I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Wonderful. And last but not the least, we have Akashdeep Arora. And I think it'll be more befitting if my 14-year-old daughter were to introduce Akash, because Akash has a super fan following between the 12 to the 16 age group. I know that particularly with my own experiences. Akash has made a fun following of, with his work for the YouTube channel Filter Copy, not Coffee. Akash is a self-made man and has been very astute with planning of his career. He's shown his talent on the web portals as well as simultaneously built a profile in Bollywood. We have seen him as the creative scientific genius in the film Yuri, and his acting talent is also on showcase in shows like Inside Edge, Kamini and the Boys, Teen Do Panch, Unseen, Brainstorm and Brave New World. So all I'll say to the actors is, ये सिर्फ शुरुआत है, picture अभी बाकी है मेरे दोस्त. This is for Priyansh and Akash. And we'd really thank you, Akash, for coming in on the show. So without wasting any more time, I'd love to begin my conversation on the box office careers with Neha. And Neha, I must personally tell you, it's such a pride to see your work. And I want to understand from you, in this world where usually one goes in for a content-oriented choice, you chose to be in cinematography. So we would really like to know from you, what was the motivation of this choice? And what is the effort that one needs to keep up as an entrant to the industry when you make a deliberate choice of being in the technical side of the film and entertainment industry?
So, well, how it started out for me was there's absolutely nobody in my family who's from the film industry. So it was really one step at a time and things unraveling and stuff. So while I was in college, I was doing mass communication in Delhi University. And in that course, we had everything. We had advertising and filmmaking and documentaries and all of that. I figured that filmmaking was something I enjoyed, and I did an internship on nonfiction projects where I was writing and directing and editing and shooting. And I figured that I needed to be right where the action was. And like writing or editing absolutely was not made for me, because it was a job of isolation. So it's really that. I found my calling pretty early on in college. And then I went and I did my specialization at FTII, where, and post that I got in and I started working. And now what I would tell the youngsters is that when we came in, there was really strong competition because there was very less work. But right now there is a lot of work, but it's really difficult to make a mark because, there's every level of work. So sometimes what happens is, if you start off in certain projects which are really small or whatever, you may not get noticed. So, one should look at assisting on big projects and stuff, and, also opens out your world to sort of assist and not get out of film school and just, try to do only independent work and shut yourself out from what the world really has to offer. So, and
Neha, I'd really like to intervene here because I think you've said something very pertinent. Apprenticeship and, जिसको हम हिंदी में शागिर्दी कहा करते हैं. apprenticeship really becomes critical in the creative industries because it allows you the landscape to grow and form your own style. So did that also happen with you?
Absolutely, because well, luckily for me, when I came out, I worked with a DOP called Ravi K. Chandran, and I worked in the biggest projects when I came out, which possibly I would have gotten a lot of independent work because I was from FTII. But you know, sometimes when you're starting off, your budgets are limited, so you're almost doing what you did as a film student. But having gone into the big bad world, like straight into you know, the main commercial industry, one got you know, I got to see just about every sort of equipment that was possible, and then you're actually learning everything on somebody else's time. So I think that's a huge advantage, and film students, when they come out, they shouldn't give up on the opportunity of assisting and learning. I think it's a huge added bonus to what one studies at film school.
Very well said, Neha. And I'm very curious to know, a lot of girls come to mass comm and film schools. And, you know, it's very important that in terms of gadgetry, in terms of the technical side, they must also experience that side, just like you said. And sometimes you find yourself more comfortable on the other side, you know, with technical expertise. So what are your views on it as you entered the industry? Was it gender neutral? You know, were you comfortable settling in, or you had some challenges which you overcame and, you know, conquered?
So actually, the whole see, when I joined cinematography, and like I said, there was absolutely nobody from my family in the industry. When I joined cinematography, it was like another thing that I wanted to do. Like, I come from a naval background. We were not sort of stopped from doing anything while we were growing up. I got equal opportunities as my brother did. I went to a college of my choice, all of that. So even when I landed up at film school, our batch of cinematography students, there were 3 girls and 3 boys. So, I mean, I didn't think there would be anything, but, you know, the minute I landed up on set, suddenly people just assumed that I was probably in costumes or makeup or all of that. And then initially, the light boys were a little hesitant taking orders from me. But I would say, I think 15 days into the job, while I was assisting, and I mean, luckily for me, my boss also worked with a single unit that moved from one project to another. So within 15 days, the boys that were all working under me, they knew that I meant business, and they couldn't throw their weight around when I told them what needed to be done.
Great.
So
that's the trick of entering, that you really need to have your training correct. You need to be confident in what you're doing. Very well put, Neha. And I must tell the audiences, the house is open for questions. So please use the chat box to your benefit. You can post in the questions for any one of our guests, and we'd love to ask them for you. So now I'd move to Neha, a great conversation, initial warming up. And now I'd like to ask the actors, because I want Shubham to give his comments on the the behind the scenes planning a little later. Priyansh, my question to you would be, what was your motivation to enter the media and entertainment industry, and how have you seen it grow? Because you worked across formats, right?
Yeah.
You've consciously done advertisements, you've consciously done television.
Right.
I also am, you also have refused some projects because you thought they weren't falling into your kind of profile. So your motivation, what keeps you going? What is your process of choosing projects?
What keeps me going as of today is patience and hope. And when I started off, which was a decade ago, when I came to Mumbai in 2012. So back then it was just the drive, just like how all these young students and actors and boys and girls who are listening to us right now, how driven they are and how passionate they are. I mean, that drive was there 10 years ago when I came here in 2012. And now there's a reality check, which happens over a period of a decade. Then the choices that you make, some you're glad that you made those choices. Somewhere you feel कि अरे यार इससे better तो कुछ काम ही कर लेते हैं. You know, that thing happens. It does take a toll sometimes, and you think, you wonder ki yaar, were the choices right or wrong? So then now today, I think when you ask me what keeps you going, so I think when you asked me, I was like, yeah, I think I'm just hopeful and patient and waiting for the right opportunity. And when you talk about working across the mediums, then yes, I do feel the choice that I made to do Tu Mera Hero as the soap that I took back then was very clear that अगर मुझे कल को जाके television करना है, either I spoke about it with my dad and I asked this question to myself कि अगर तुझे बिल्कुल टीवी करना ही नहीं है कभी तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, but अगर तेरे को लगता है यार there might be someday I might do it, then this is the time, just do it, because there's hardly ऐसा कोई show कभी वापस would come across your way, which was such a fantastic character and such a great show, and for Star Plus. So I did that to tick that off my list कि ठीक है यार ऐसा नहीं है, you know, you should. Sometimes I also feel we are, especially I can talk about myself, बहुत fixated हो जाते हैं, मैं हो जाता हूँ. So which is also I think is not a very good approach कि बस hellbent हो गए और ऐसे मतलब ये कुछ और दिख ही नहीं रहा left right center. So I have gradually moved away from being that rigid in my approach, and that's when, as and when the opportunities came, be it for a web series that I did 3 years ago, was that only that at that point of time digital has boomed. I mean, I remember around 2014 we used to talk कि यार अब ना digital आ जाएगा और एकदम मतलब ऐसे हो जाएगा, and it just, we thought it will happen gradually, but my God, it has shot across the roof. I mean, it's unbelievable, and thanks to the, sorry to say, but the pandemic, it has really escalated to another level. So
Very
it's
true.
great. It's great to have these opportunities now. And now at this point, I think after 10 years or through these 10 years of journey, I feel now I'm at a point where the medium is no more of importance or relevance to me. That's, I strongly, truly believe that कि यार एक fixation था पहले films करनी है, बस नहीं अब it's about a good story, a good team, and doesn't matter whether it's going to be on television or on any OTT, or it will be a feature or it will be a indie. Just being associated with a good project and a great team, and how Neha said, you know, that's what really truly matters, because as a creative personal, as an artist, that's what will contribute to your growth, instead of thinking ki haan ye aane kahan wala hai. Is it for a theater or things like that?
Priyansh, you're so right, because content has now also become platform agnostic. You know,
Yeah.
so the performer now has more possibilities of showcasing their work.
Right.
Because there are, film aspirants or media aspirants who are attending this show right now. I would like to pose this question to you: that does training at the bachelor's level
Yeah.
allow you to, at least have the right stepping stone? Like Neha said, it exposes you to a range of possibilities. And what else does it do as you enter this, this so-called big media and entertainment industry? What are your views?
100%. I think I can't stress it enough, and I can't agree more on the fact that because see, it is an art form, but it is very technical. It is not ki haan bas just it's only all about art. It is, but it's really technical. No matter, even if you're a director or an actor or a singer, it has technicalities around it, and especially today. And then at the same time, something which somebody said once, which has stayed with me. It's like it was about the fact that it is the most expensive trade. Media is the most expensive trade, so you can't be not trained or careless about it and be ki haan koi fark. And especially it happens most of, I think, especially in acting space, I find this happening the most. I think Shubham will be the right person to throw this light on it, because he experiences that with so many actors across. But I personally feel कि इस एक aspect में I've seen actors taking a little casual approach or a backseat कि यार training से no, but it is really crucial. It is very important. I think at a college bachelor's level, as you said, because it's important for the students to live that life, the college life, number one, which will add layers to their character, to their performance, to their personality. and B, having that technical awareness and orientation about the work that they're about to do, about the life they're going to lead if they're serious about it. So yes, it is very crucial having that technical aspect. And once your technicality is strong, then you can work around the layers of it.
Thank you, Priyansh. Very valuable. Now I'd like to move on to Akash. And for all the people who are attending, for dynamic people, it's going to be a challenge to move from one to the other, but we'll try to make use of this time. Akash, you made a conscious choice as a young actor to really explore the web space. I think it was a very astute choice. I also noticed your work and noticed, and Neha will be also such a right person to ask this. What you did with your web content was, you knew that as an actor you had a great landscape of expression, and whenever I see your work I notice that you consciously used that part of your talent to garner so much of attention from from those who are watching. So how did that come across, and then how did you move to the to the mainstream Bollywood industry?
When I was in college, I used to like, I love films and used to dream like I want to work in these films. But like, I'm from Kanpur, so I also don't have anyone from my family background who works in this industry. And coming to college and doing mass communication and thinking about those things, it always make you kept thinking that what you're gonna do once you'll be over with this college. But I used to love TVF a lot. That time TVF was introduced at that time, and I used to love their content. I don't know why, like I was very relating to that content, because like it was related to that college field, and I thought, okay, if I won't be able to do something after this college, then I'll be doing this kind of stuff. So I was very much open about it, and I thought, okay, this YouTube format is brilliant if I'll be not getting that opportunity. And so I came to Bombay in 2014, and I was doing everything apart from television, because I was not that confident that I can work for like 1 year in one project continuously, because I used to make short films, and I was like, I used to enjoy that process like I'm doing 10 days of shoot and then I'm moving to another shoot. So like obviously I can't have that much stamina like TV, but I can at least be at a different spaces, and I can understand so many people all together. And as an actor, it's really important to just keep switching, I feel, because I don't want to just be at a specific character, just be at just be at one space only, and want to I love exploring different characters. So that's why I thought it's better to just keep trying different mediums. And luckily filter copy happened. Initially I was just doing ads and I was doing theater, and so I was not confident enough. So that's why I joined this film called Titli, and I was doing behind the scenes of that film, because I wanted to just explore behind the camera also, because when all these directors, when they give command to any actors, how they take it, how they go home or they rehearse. So I was being a part of that process, so that I can actually see how these things are being made. And then I came to Bombay 2014. I did still photography in Detective Byomkesh Bakshi, and I saw Neeraj Kabi there, and I was like blown away ki how this person can do this much. And like when he's performing, he's totally a different person, and when he's like behind the camera, he's totally a different person. He does something like this and that. And then I got to know that he's from theater background, so I thought it's better to just get into theater after this film. And I joined theater, and I was doing like, I was just juggling with the behind the camera and in front of the camera also. I was giving audition, then I was doing theater also, and I was doing so many things. And obviously I was confused in that. And in 2016, a lot of things happened. I lost my camera, I lost my MacBook Pro, and I thought, now I have to actually focus on only one thing. And I actually got to know after that major incident in my life that I actually enjoy acting a lot. So I thought I just focus on that, and I start giving auditions. And Inside Edge happened, and then Uri happened, and like a lot of people
So you were
wanted
very
me.
recognizable in Uri. It was very distinct. It was as if you pitched yourself as a certain character, and that space can be explored. I really adore your candidness. because the students who are listening right now, they'll feel as if they are listening to somebody they can relate to. So thank you, Akash. Shubham, now I'm going to come to you. Should I call you the kingmaker? No, I'm just making it a light conversation. But Shubham, a lot of our students are not aware that casting as a process from, let's say, the middle, from 2005, 2006, has really found a very organized structure in the industry. And you have been exposed to the initial phases, and now you're also casting for both national and international projects. You're also working on your own, scripts, and sooner or later we will see your work as a director. I want to just pose this question to you: that look at this space. What an expanding space this is. On one side, there is the film, the mainstream, the megalith. On the other side, a huge element of television programming, and then the OTT space by itself, regional, Hindi, international. Where do you place training at the moment? And in terms of training, do you think that these specialisms, like, like an intimacy director, a casting director, a prosthetics specialist, where, is it all gearing up in that direction with the corporatization?
Oh, it is. It is definitely. I think there are so many new interesting designations that have been formed, and they're picking up with time. What is, I think, and I'm specifically talking about casting direction here, because I think before 10 years, I think there wasn't really, a specific space for a department like that. And to be very precise, I think the last 5 years have really established it in a much more organized structure, if I may say so, because I think now everybody is just trying to be better at their, and very, very inventive, I would say, very experimentative in their approach in terms of bringing new talents to the table. And more so, I think, in any situation, the preparation and the training, as even how Priyansh mentioned, and we all are sort of discussing it, talking about it, is a sense of training and a sense of preparation is something extremely needed, and it's well received also. If because ऐसा होता है कि अच्छे इंस्टीट्यूट से भी देखो फूड लोग निकलते ही हैं, बट अगर आपको जिज्ञासा है अच्छा करने की, and you want to grow in your life, and you want to sort of you have that sense of clarity that these are the people, this is the portal you want to work in and work towards. I think then it's pretty clear, and there are a lot of people who are like in their 30s and their 40s who still within the film industry, as a technician, as an actor, as an artist, have no idea of what they've been doing for the last so many years. I think the new generation, or whatever the new lot that is coming, they have they have an amazing sense of clarity where they're heading, and no sense of distinction in terms of what portal, as Priyansh said, कि ये करना चाहिए ये नहीं करना चाहिए. So I think जो भी content interesting है, I think you should move forward towards it. I don't know if I dissuaded.
Yeah, no, I think you said the right thing. Also, the fact that the four of you are here, and I'm sure Professor Saxena also agrees, the whole, your agreeability to talk to the aspirants by itself allows people to have a sneak peek at what's happening on the other side. And here, so I'd like to bring in a question. There's Manit Verma, and Manit has asked that, is the media industry full of surprises and excitement? And I think I'd request Neha first to respond to it, because being on set is full of surprises and excitement, I'm sure, Neha, with a lot of challenges as well.
Absolutely. That's what drives us. That's what takes us to set every day, despite the 12 hours of shoot and 2 hours of travel every day. You're 16 hours, you're practically at work. So, I mean, that's what drives us, the excitement of doing something new every day, creating something new every day.
So, you are from the, you're a cinematographer, but you're also, I'm sure, at times of crisis, Neha, you're also that filmmaker who just knows how to, find the right solution. So I think that part of us is so critical in this industry.
Absolutely, because see, there's any project that you get onto, you're planning and planning. There's paper planning, you're doing recce's and tech recce's, and then you land up on set and it rains. And then you need to think on your feet and figure a way out and figure how, because I mean, producers have also planned a certain number of days. So then you need to figure out how your scene is going to work in the rain. So it's a lot of the whole team coming together, and yeah, I mean, it's the excitement.
And it is teamwork that stands tall, right?
Absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. Shubham, your comments on it, on teamwork, that anyone who comes into this industry, that whole psychology of we are a team and this is a project and, this is what we have to achieve, that is so superior.
No, I think it happens as rightly said. Neha just rightly put it in a good sense. I think because I think anybody who's spent like a good amount of time, maybe I think more than 5 years or 10 years, they have witnessed these kinds of changes, these surprises on set. And if you have a great team, I think you're prepared. I think I'll take an example from someone like an Anurag Basu we work with. Someone who's he's an agent of chaos, I have to say, because you have no idea what he's going to do, and on what day what he's going to shoot. I've been in a situation with my partner, who he and like Trishan and me, we've been casting together. So we've been in a situation with Anurag Basu, so many moments where like 2 days from now he has a shoot, and suddenly he canceled the entire thing, and tell us a random brief and tell me that just send these certain faces, these kind of faces to my studio, and I want to meet them. And then that's like a crisis. We just have to deal with it at that point of time. If you're prepared for such situations, and so I think situations like these, experiences like these, only prepare you, and that actually gives you the thrill, to be part of the kind of films and the projects that you are. So yeah,
and I think over the years, जिसको कहते हैं परिपक्वता, over the years, हर एक इस experience के साथ आपका जो काम है वो जुड़ता चला जाता है और आप हर crisis को बेहतर एक तरह से address कर देते हैं.
Absolutely. Now I think nowadays, if something like this happens, and like I'm then as a casting director, I'm like really cool, and my associate or anybody from the direction team is like, why are you not panicking? Like, yeah, this is normal. I've been watching it for 10-11 years, so bring it on.
So that's a statement for our aspirants to really keep with them. And Krishika Bhan, and I'm going to pose this question to Priyansh and then to Akash, if Akash also wants to answer it. Krishika Bhan says, what is the experience that you have in developing accents for specific roles? So Priyansh, this is directly connected to your core domain, that if you had to develop accents, what is the kind of prep that goes into it?
The prep is basic. I mean, you first need to understand the geography of that area. The best way to do that is by being there, and whoever is an aspiring actor there or a professional, or they know this about this common practice of everybody who has done a character role or something like that, which demands this kind of prep, have gone to that particular region, have been there. So I did that for Tu Mera Hero because the guy was from Mathura. So I went to Mathura, I was there. And so that's part of the prep where you actually try and pick it up. It's a trivial information, but I just to give it to you. I was part of a South Indian film, a Kannada film. And I was there in Bangalore for a month and a half. I was trying to learn that language. It was not just a dialect or that accent. It was the entire new language. But there was a second layer that was very crucial to my understanding, that it's not just about learning the language, because every place has a way, has a certain, not the accent, but a certain
like the color.
Lingo. Yeah, there's a culture to it. There's a culture to it. Like Delhi ka Hindi ही दिल्ली में बोल रहे हैं, हिंदी ही बॉम्बे में बोल रहे हैं probably, but उनका, I'm not talking the accent here, I'm talking about the culture here, कि कुछ छोटी छोटी चीजें होंगी. So I was like, यार, it's not only खाली भाषा सीख लेने से या dialect या accent पकड़ लेने से नहीं होगा. You need to actually get the core of that place. You need to vibe with that place. तो वो चाहे टपरी पे चाय पीना है, which is as trivial as that, or maybe just hanging out with those people or trying to learn the literature of that area. And then it also is important how your core team, your director wants it to be. आप as an actor probably बहुत prepare कर लोगे, maybe over prepare कर लोगे, and मैं शुभम के पास जाऊंगा मेरे audition के लिए, शुभम कहेगा नहीं यार ये इतना नहीं करना है, you know, right? Like Shubham would agree here that it also depends कि उनको किस measurement में चाहिए, कि अगर आप फॉर एग्जांपल प्रोबेबली आप हरियाणा का कोई कैरेक्टर पकड़ रहे हैं या यूपी का कोई कैरेक्टर पकड़ रहे हैं, अगर आप पूरा ठेठ चले जाएंगे, सो देयर इज अ चांस कि प्रोबेबली आपका प्रोड्यूसर या आपका डायरेक्टर जो कंटेंट बनाना चाह रहा है वो एक अलग माइंडसेट से बना रहा है, एंड दे विल बी लाइक अरे यार ये तो तुमने रीजनल कर दिया. So there's a nice balance there as well. So I think a collaborative effort works here, that you sit with your director, how he wants it, she wants it, what are their vision about this specific dialect, accent, lingo, whatever. So it's that kind of a collaborative effort, number one. And then once the boundaries are set, then it's your job as an actor, how deep you can get into it, what colors you can bring to the table, how much research you can do, how much practice. Here, in such cases, the practicing it is very crucial, because then it has to become your second nature for that way.
A lot of homework.
Yeah.
A lot of homework.
If you have to improvise, then उस moment के अंदर अगर मैं एकदम से improvise करने पे आया और मैं वापस प्रियांश बन गया तो zero.
Yeah.
So that then again, a lot of prep is needed for that.
Yeah. So Akash, I'm going to just ask the next question to you, because this one was very beautifully answered. Sankalp Gupta is asking that how can an actor or an actress come to know that a specific role is not for him or her? You know, knowing that this is not what you want to do, does it come from inside of an actor? This is Sankalp Gupta's question.
I think it all depends on, I think it can be only decided by director. I feel, I don't think so that you should put that thought, because I feel that whatever comes to your plate, I think you should always try eating that rather than just telling everyone. If you are an actor, then obviously it's important to try each and every dish on your plate, and that's how I think you will be also able to explore ki this is also your side. And you know, like when I was doing my first play, so I was playing Chandragupta Maurya, and you know, like I have never like been like that in my whole life. और जब मैंने जब perform किया तो लोगों को लगा कि यार तू ऐसा तो नहीं था बिल्कुल, मुझे नहीं पता था कि वो मैं ऐसा हूँ. But obviously, like after doing another play, I got to know that in that second character also that I was doing, the other play, usme bhi I was portraying Chandragupta Maurya. So I got to know that it's really important to keep trying and not saying that this is not for me. I think casting directors are the one who should decide all these things, I feel.
That's a super answer, Akash. Thank you. But the next question again goes back to Neha and Shubham, because you've been around there for too long now. It's Abhay is asking, have you ever felt burnt out during your journey? If so, how did you face it? Neha, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so see, luckily for me, I haven't reached a phase where I've felt burnt out really, because I've managed to maintain a work-life balance. So I haven't really felt burnt out, so to say. But luckily for how this whole field works is that sometimes you get onto a project which you may not enjoy so much. So just those 30, 40, 60 days on a project may seem painful, but there's always something new to look forward to. So, I mean, the case of burnout hasn't happened yet, but also the fact that you might get into something new and exciting later keeps you going.
Great. Shubham? Shubham, you're on mute.
Yeah, I also feel, I think there's a certain sense of balance needs to be there, a sense of, clarity that as to, you don't need to just go crazy so much for whatever you're doing for your livelihood that you stop giving yourself that kind of time. So that kind of balance needs to be there, and that only comes like not in the beginning years, but with with time when you start working and you realize that you're actually you're not giving yourself enough time, or there are other facets to life, to your personality that you can actually explore, rather than just focusing on what you're supposed to do, because that's essentially just a part of your life. It's not the entirety of that. So
and let
yeah.
me focus your answer back to you. So for all the people in the house, Shubham is not just a casting director, he's also a trained classical singer. And I think what he's saying, he also exudes that. And which is also something that media and film aspirants should keep in mind. Always have a life skill, preferably in the arts, which you can bank on. And the big editors, they listen to great music. The big cinematographers, they indulge in photography. So usually it is some kind of art form that people in the creative industry also heavily engage in, to probably, Shubham, to also kind of streamline these moments of burning out. Am I right?
Yeah. In fact, just to add something, recently in the last 3 months, while I was working, I took out time on Saturdays, Sundays just to learn pottery for 3 months. So I was actually learning parallelly. I was doing something just to calm myself down. I just needed like 4 or 5 hours in the morning, just by myself on that wheel. I was just creating some really interesting articles. And by the end of 3 months, the things that I created, I just couldn't believe that these are things created by me. And I realized that, okay, this is something that I never believed I could do. But while, dealing with the pressures that I do in my shop, I was able to do this as well. So I think that you just have to extract time, you just have to balance it out, and you can always do other things as well.
And Shubha, mostly it's a project-based cycle that you have. So,
Yeah.
one must, as a media professional, at least in the film industry, know the breaks that you get and how you invest in yourself to give more back to the profession. I must here tell the audiences something fantastic about Neha, which is that while she was shooting Rashmi Rocket, Neha was on her family way as well. And in fact, Tapsi went on record acknowledging that it wasn't obvious at all, and Neha continued to be on the set and absolutely like a normal day. So this is also the resilience that professionals in the field have, and this is the resilience that aspirants should build, because it's a project based industry, it's a timeline oriented industry, it's a skill oriented industry. You also have to upgrade your skills. uh, Priyansh, the next one is for you. Sharva Srivastav, she is saying that for Priyansh sir, 24 was an amazing show. How was your experience in such a serious role? Priyansh, you're on mute.
Is it fine now? Am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, you're on.
Hi, sorry, some technical difficulty. 1 second.
That is
How was the
Sharma who's given you a
experiences?
compliment.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for the compliment. Yeah, the experience was fantastic. Yeah, because that being my first ever uh, professional commercial project, apart from the advertisements and TVCs that I had done, and to be directed, because 24 was being directed by three great directors, Nitya Mehra, Renzel De Silva, and Abhinay Deo. So it was amazing for me to have my first ever project and to get directed by three great directors. It was a learning experience for me, and on that journey, I understood that how raw I am. And no matter, I thought कि oh हो मैं तो बस अब बॉम्बे आया हूँ और मैं तो अब धमाल मचा दूंगा. Professor Chakrabarti had told me a great thing. She really encouraged me back in those days that Priyansh, camera loves you. You have a great face for camera. But then while working on 24, I understood that सिर्फ face से काम नहीं चलेगा भाई साहब. You need to get your act right. You need to learn the technicalities of it. No matter, I had done mass comm, I had done theaters back in those days, but still on that project, I understood that there's still, and I still feel that even today, I feel there are so many limitations. I feel limited at times because every time your director will change, you will feel कि अरे यार मुझे ये नहीं आ रहा या मुझसे ये नहीं हो रहा. But then again, collaborative effort. You crack it, you do it. So that's the wonderful part, and that's the great part about this profession and journey. But back then it was, I would say I was very grateful to have that project. It was a great learning experience for me, for sure. And yeah, I understood that what all I need to work on, and from there on, actually, good offers started coming my way. So my career graph started picking up. At the same time, I also started taking more training, preparing myself in those technicalities and understanding the craft even more on a deeper level. So both the things started happening simultaneously, and I think it will keep happening. It should keep happening. Yeah.
Absolutely. We are all learners in this industry. Yeah. I'd request Professor Saxena, if sir wants to pose a question, we'd be extremely excited and happy.
Okay, sure. I'm one of those people who love watching films. I have no idea how the films are made. Of course, listening to all of you, it has been such a learning for me as to what actually happens behind the sets. I'm really intrigued by, shall I use the word breaking the glass ceiling in the case of Neha? Or have there been women cinematographers who are directors of photography in other films, or is she the first one? I would really like to know, because it is very fascinating the way women in India are breaking barriers, moving, setting up new goalposts.
Absolutely. Neha.
So when I started off, sir, there were, you could count like 3 or 4 female cinematographers who were my seniors actually from FTI and stuff. And since I have come into the field, we've, in about 2016, we formed a collective of female cinematographers. We're on a number of 100 now.
Oh.
They're either doing fiction, non-fiction, documentaries, television, but we're a strong number of 100 now. And we're on the path of hoping that this question won't be posed in forums anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, we're getting there, slow and steady.
Sir, but male or female, she's still one of the coolest cinematographers we've come across, I feel.
Thanks.
And Neha, since we are talking about cinematography, I have to ask this. So, technically, so much happens. I mean, so much of technique, styles keep changing. You have to be so alert with the world, with that space. So, how do you keep really cued in with, let's say, a new technique that is coming in? I'm sure it's part of the profession, but you also have to kind of take a step forward. Which is also, again, something for the listeners to know, that whether it's an actor or a casting director or a technical person on the set, everybody has to be agile. The homework doesn't stop.
Absolutely. So when I joined the Institute back in 2003, and in our induction program, the then director had made a statement saying that you're here to learn. We are not going to teach you. So that's something that stuck with me up until now, which is everywhere I go, I try to absorb whatever I can from the situation. And of course, one needs to stay abreast with reading up on technology and what people are doing world over. The internet has made it so easy to stay up to date. But I think one has to keep up with, has to have the will to learn every day as one goes out. Because our profession offers us the privilege of working with so many new people on a daily basis. So keeping an open mind and being a sponge and just absorbing everything in is the key, I guess.
Wonderful. Shubham, a question for you. It's from an anonymous attendee. Hi, I would like to ask Shubham, sir, as a casting director, what do you look the most in an actor, and what all key points are important in an audition?
It's like a very vague question.
Shubham, wait, I want to take notes. Wait.
See, whoever has addressed this question, I have to tell you, majority of actors, when they come in the beginning and when they're just making sure that they introduce themselves to the casting directors or directors around. So, एक बहुत vague term है कि sir मैंने theater किया है. तो ये क्या है ना, this is something that it's something If it's a good, if it's a smart director or a smart casting director or anybody who wants to work with you, they'll always ask you that, you know, what kind of theater you've done, who are the directors you work with, you know, what kind of similarly, I think with casting directors, there's no, it's not a specific thing, because now casting essentially has become very, very region based, very personality based, you know. And if you're trained, then that's fantastic. But you have to be like, even if you're not, you have to be really, really instinctive in terms of getting the beats right. You know, and the preparation, I think, that goes in auditions. Most importantly, most actors treat auditions as something that, you know, they have to perform to get the part. The thing is that you have to basically go there and do your best and perform, uh, perform as an amazing actor, so that the person who's seeing your audition or taking your audition needs to remember you, so that they start to believe in your craft and give you more opportunities to, you know, to create. Because there's not one reason, there's just not acting or the look that becomes the factor to get selected. There are a lot of factors, you know. Sometimes it's the speech, sometimes it's the look, sometimes it's just the kind of, it's just the way you approached you approach the scene. So there are a lot of things. So but you need to sort of, two things that you need to be really, really clear about is, one, your preparation of that audition or how you're approaching the scene. And the second is that, you know, you need to be extremely clear about the kind of people you want to work with, people you want to uh, you know, keep approaching, and, you know, just make them realize that why is it so important to you know, do specific kind of work. So they need to believe that, you know, you're trying to position yourself in the market in a certain manner. They need to believe that why I should call this person for constructive parts and not just something random. So yeah.
Super. And Akash, here I'd like to ask you, what has been your experience with auditions? How would you like to add to this question? Because I think what Shubham is also saying is there has to be a unique selling point. Am I right, Shubham? Every person has to have a unique selling point. So Akash, because, you know, I must tell you honestly, in Yuri, you just stood out as a very unique character. I must tell you honestly. I mean, people will never forget you because it was so, yeah, it was so particularly specific. So what is your comment on auditions and how, you know, preparation should go into it?
I totally agree on Shubham also, and also on Priyansh when he was saying that we over prepare sometimes. And because, you know, when we go to the audition, we get to know that this character is going this way. And, you know, obviously, people think that once, like, we take audition, some people take auditioning very lightly, that they'll think once we'll get the part, then we'll work on it. So rather than that, I think it's really important to work before the audition. Like, you are just preparing yourself and just know your lines, and also try with different approach, because, you know, once you go to the audition room, casting director can say that you have to do it this way. So you should have different thought process towards your intentions of your lines, and so that you can mold yourself when it's needed. And this happens not just in, I think, audition. I think it happens in on set also, because sometimes directors says that what you did in audition, it's not coming here, so try in this approach. So it's really important to be very light when you are just going for the audition, rather than being best. It's important to be honest, I feel.
Great. I think I understood exactly what you're saying. So there are two approaches, and one could be overworking on it, the other one could be taking it casually. But I think the mantra will be to be more open,
Correct.
adaptable, and yet know the skill that you possess, which you're
Yes.
already working on. So excellently put. Shubham, there is a question which I'm trying to interpret, but I'll do it to the best of my ability. Manit Verma is asking, Shubham sir, casting someone is a big challenge in the field of direction, but there is no question mark in it. So I'm presuming it's a statement.
I didn't follow the question. What is the
That
question?
casting someone is a big challenge in the field of direction. So which is correct, isn't it? Casting is आजकल तो और भी ज़्यादा, because with the kind of OTTs opened this space where characters now are so critical. So I think the entire casting has to be correct for a project to,
True.
to be successful. So Manit, we've tried to answer your question. The question is also for Neha ma'am. Neha ma'am, would you like to discuss some of the difficulties you faced in the industry and how did you work through it? I'd maybe like to reframe this question and say, Neha, how does a cinematographer get work? Let's put it like this.
How does the cinematographer get work is really wide because I mean, our whole industry functions on word of mouth and in the initial days, and then after that your work speaks for you. So yeah, primarily that. But to answer the first part of the question, I think the biggest challenge being on set was getting bathrooms.
Yes.
Because when I started out, there were very, very few female women who were on set with about 15, 16 years ago, which has changed, which is, I mean, one would think I would talk about the big things, but really bathrooms was the biggest challenge when I started out.
And thank you for saying it. It's also a small thing to say, but even my PhD research takes us to this, which is that life has really changed. Although content on screen was turning women-centric, it was also important to keep pace behind the scenes with having more women on the set. So for all those who are attending, Rashmi Rocket is such a wonderful example because not only does it have content which is women-centric, it also establishes that a team can be gender neutral for that content to also come across. So that way, I think that's a great statement to give. Thank you, Neha. Sir, would you like to ask a question? Because I would love to talk to them.
Okay, sure. I have a very bread and butter question for my students in your respective fields. What would be the starting salary if they get into a film production house or an OTT production house? What do you think is the kind of career graphs these boys and girls can aspire for today?
So would we maybe start with Shubham? We could start with you and then pose the question to Neha.
Sure.
Shubham, you're on mute.
Hi. So I think since I juggle in between crossover projects and Indian projects also, so it's always from project to project. I still I'm one of those people who actually go by the script, which is why I came to the industry. Money was never a big thing for me, but I think it was the kind of content that I'm actually doing. But even if somebody is actually in the beginning, just trying to focus on the kind of capital they're going to make out of it. So it varies from, maybe a lakh to maybe 20 lakhs or something on one project, which goes from, 6 months to 4 months or something of that sort.
Okay.
Neha, in terms of technical, what should the...
I'll tell you, I might crash a few dreams here. You must come into the industry...
Sorry,
you
Shubham.
should only come into the industry if you have enough bank balance to keep you going for 6 months to a year minimum, or you have your parents supporting you, or you have your partner supporting you, because one can be aspirational and say, "Mere ko kaam karna hai," all of that, but one still needs to survive in Bombay and feed themselves and take care of their well-being. So you need to be sure that you have at least 6 months to a year of bank balance to keep you going, your rent, your food, your general well-being, your mental well-being. Having said that, in my particular field, one would, if you start as an intern, sometimes you get paid monthly, or sometimes for the first project, you probably be expected to work for free, which is, I mean, it's sad, but it still exists. But when you do start doing all right, assistants make anything ranging from 7 to 20,000 a day. And DPs really depending on the scale of the project. That's you could be talking of a few lakhs to close to about 80, 90 to a crore. But that is, again, depending absolutely on the scale. But assistants, when you're starting off, anything between 5 to 7 to about 20.
A day.
A day.
Yeah, no, it's, I think for heavier departments, I think more technical departments, from a cinematographer to an editor, sort of, it's because the work is essential and it's heavier than the other departments, and more important, I have to say. So I think there the capital.
Really, the importance really comes from the fact that, for example, you're in a particular location, the money's been put into the locations, costume, actors, everything. So I guess the importance that Shubham is saying comes from the fact that जो एक बार छाप दिया वो तो, that is, you have to live with that. I mean, going back and shooting that and all of that is going to be a nightmare for the producers. So the importance only comes from there, really. I mean, every other job is as important, but the criticality of this only comes from the fact that one can't go back. It'll be a huge cost factor.
True.
So I think Priyansh and Akash, for the actors, we can't have such a question because I think actors will always go freelance.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saving.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
Thank you for saving us from this question.
Yeah,
Shubham,
wants
you
to
were
add
saying?
something. Yeah.
Shubham, you were saying something.
No, I was saying that if you actually start to pick the right projects, then you're going to make a lot of money. This I can promise.
Shubham, I'm waiting for my money and for those right projects.
So coming from the casting director who's going to be director, that's a very hopeful statement. And I think, sir, this can bring us to the close of this conversation.
Sure.
It's been so fantastic with you all. It's been a wonderful evening. I hope everybody who's attended today has something to take back home. I have some points which I want to kind of summarize. Neha specifically talked about combining independent and big projects so that the learnings of both are different. Priyansh talked about how rigidity should be avoided and you should keep exploring. Akash mentioned how he remains to be a learner and how he gauged the ecosystem and made his decisions. And Shubham gave us a lot of points on the specialisms and how, when you're looking at projects, the USP of the person who comes to a casting director matters. I'm sure, Shubham, you also have a lot of interns with you. And at some stage in time, Neha, Shubham, Priyansh and Akash, we would also love our students to interact with you in the industry, while in the industry, if they can get an opportunity to learn from you. With that, these are my closing statements, but I request Professor Saxena to formally also help us close this event. And thank you so much. We are grateful for the time and really for all the learnings and the SAR of your being in the industry for so many years.
Sure. Let me also thank all our guests for finding the time, because all of you are very busy people, and to agree at such short notice to speak to our students. And then, of course, to share your very valuable experiences and insights as to what awaits today's youngster who still has stars in his eyes and would like to grow up and be like you in the coming years. It has been a very interesting conversation. For me, it has been definitely a great personal learning, because I've got to learn quite a bit about films from this conversation. And I'm sure the students would definitely have. We would like to have you again. Once the university reopens, we would like you to come to the campus, meet and interact with the students, and it would be wonderful. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having us.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, and hope to see the actors on screen as many times as we can. All the very best.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It was great to see you all, and this chat was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Professor Saxena, Professor Chakravarti, thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure to have all of you on the show. Thank you.
Totally a pleasure. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
See you soon.
And we request the IT to close this session now.
Okay, ma'am.